Hey guys, it's Jane. It's Saturday morning. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here in Melbourne. Before I do anything else, I need to say a shout out to all my friends who are at BookNetFest over in Orlando. I hope you're having a wonderful time. I really do. I would love to be there in another world and another life. But today I'm going to be talking to you about VidCon. Now this is actually a video I have made previously, but I was very unhappy about what I ended up with. What I had was just a kind of like wrap up of things that I did and things that I liked and, you know, saying how great everything was. And while all those things that I said are true, I am thinking more and more, like in the lead up and since VidCon, about what my value add is. What is my thing that I can do better than other people in my channel, or at least as well as other people? And it's certainly not being perky. And it's not about my technical expertise. So I guess some of my grey hairs and my ability to sit with things and think about them for a little bit longer and maybe come up with a little bit more of a rounded analysis of things. I'm hoping this is going to be a short video, but I often think that and it's not. But anyway, let's go. VidCon Australia. It was VidCon last weekend here in Melbourne. It rained almost the entire time. And I went, this is the second year it's been, and I went last year as well. It was good to go for a second time because I had a bit more of an idea of what I was letting myself in for, but it was quite different this year actually, partly because it was the second time, not the first time. And also because I think behind the scenes a number of things had changed. I was expecting stuff to have grown, which did not grow. There was a different emphasis on the in as far as my choices of what I took part in, and also I believe in the overall thrust of the creative stream. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. VidCon, at least VidCon as I've been to it in Australia, is a bit of a strange three-headed mythological beast, because it's kind of like a trade show for industry that is like turducken on top of a creator get-together, on top of, inside of a fan meet, which is kind of like halfway between a teenager music festival and like a Comic-Con. It's not like properly a Comic-Con because far fewer dressings up and much less in the way of like merch and stuff around, but you know, thousands of teenagers roaming around looking for somebody to scream at is actually not an insignificant part of what's going on in the community stream of VidCon. I was more involved in that last year than I was this year. That was a conscious choice. Just my energy levels are such, and I'm not an extrovert, so being amongst large crowds of people, getting super excited about things that I'm not particularly excited about is not an energy builder for me. So I absented myself from a large part of that, and it was a decision that I made that I am happy with. Now, I don't know what goes on the industry stream. There were lots of highly confident people in expensive looking suits striding around from place to place at different times. There was an exclusive kind of industry party that a person that I met there in the creative stream had been got into, like invited along to, and he was like super hyped about getting into that. But again, that's not really my scene. I'm an old aged woman who lives in the burbs with her children. So that is not something that I was keen, like I didn't feel like I missed out on that. So the industry part of it is a bit of a mystery. The rest of what I'm going to say is really about the creator stream. Now, the creator stream, even just that part of VidCon is a bit of a strange bird. For a start, it's incredible imposter syndrome, like food. Everybody's there thinking that everybody else is more achieving than them, more valuable than them. Like, you know, I don't know. The people that I spoke to all gave largely gave the impression that that was the case. There's a kind of professional development sort of side to a lot of the streams that they set up, like, you know, how to light this, you know, how to make brand deals, because that's like a big emphasis for some people, how to, you know, network, how to this, that, or that. a couple of the things that I went to of that ilk were useful, but in fact, I have to say the most useful professional development tip that I got at VidCon was just part of a conversation that I had with a random person that I met there who suggested something that has turned out to be quite helpful to me. So there's this professional development side, which I guess they introduce something, and that's an obvious thing to do. There's also, this year there was a big emphasis on networking, and I'm for networking, like meeting other people who are doing similar things, who you might be able to help, who might be able to help you. It all sounds grand. It's just when you corporatize it and make it so that, you know, there's this app and you've got to sign up and it's all terribly technological and, like, you know, full disclosure, I couldn't get onto the app because my phone wouldn't allow me to, like, sign their terms and conditions off, even though I was really trying to. But that kind of, like, non-organic networking seemed to be a big priority. And when you put the whole collective creator meetup in this large, very corporate, very bland, not obviously organically creative sort of space, it gives it a feel like you're back at school or you're trying to break into the industry kind of vibe. And yeah, having said that, a number of the networking sessions that I went to were great. I met people. I exchanged business cards. You have to have business cards if you go to one of these things because you're meeting all these people and you're going to have like 5-minute conversations with them. And unless you can exchange details, you're never going to have a chance to talk to them again. So that's my big takeaway tip in case you're going to something like this. Get business cards. You can get them quickly and cheaply and do that. But beyond all of that, what the creator side for me was actually valuable in is when we finally, on the Sunday afternoon, got to the bit on the schedule which said it was a booktube meetup, i.e. my people, my tribe, the people that I identify with, had this time to get together. Now, that meeting in and of itself, which was scheduled for 1 hour on the program, and then there were other people coming into the room, and so we had to get out, essentially. That was basically what the entire weekend was about for me, and it actually made it worthwhile because it was so great to go and feel seen. And that's, I think, a large part of what BookTube is about. People come and watch the videos because they want to meet other people, they want to be with other people who are like them in their enthusiasm for books. They want to meet somebody else who's read the book that they've just read, or they want to get a good recommendation from somebody they feel a connection with for another book that they might like. It's about being seen. BookTube is about being seen by people who we feel like are like us. And that is also why I went to VidCon, not consciously, but thinking back about it. I wanted to be with people who understood the kind of stuff that I do. It's, you know, it's only a hobby for me, but it's totally like what I was looking for, and I got it. So VidCon was worth it. There was a certain amount of crap to get through to get to that in my kind of personal experience of it. Like, you know, these huge echoing corporatized spaces and nowhere decent to get food without a 20-minute walk and all that sort of rubbish was still worth it. That was worth it for me for the part where I got together with other creators and, like, you know, sat next to them and kind of laughed at a joke that somebody made about some sort of niche booktubey thing. And yeah, it was all great. But why can't there be something that's actually more specifically about that, rather than that being like the side element? I don't understand why, especially for the creators, that part of it is like the side benefit rather than the actual key thing that it's for. All this sort of business speak that we had to put up with. I went to one of the YouTube sessions where a person in a nice suit who, you know, a telegenic person in a nice suit from Sydney, got up and spoke about how YouTube is like, you know, like loves creators and, you know, it's all about them. And he had some statistics, and I used to be a maths teacher, and I have some understanding of statistics, and so let me hit the highlights of what he told us about money for YouTubers in Australia. There are, and he thought this was a really exciting statistic that he was excited to share, there are 5,000 Australian YouTubers who make between $1,000 and $100,000 a year on YouTube. Wow! How exciting is that? 5,000! But let's drill down on those numbers a little bit. 5,000 who make between $1,000 and $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year tells me that that was the top number that he could give, that nobody is getting rich on YouTube in Australia. Nobody. Nobody. $100,000 is a good salary. Like the average Australian full-time wage is about 80 grand. $100,000 is not money. That's not getting rich. And that is like the extreme top end of what he was talking about. $1,000, like, think about $1,000. $10 an hour is in the ballpark of what my kids feel like they're justified in asking for in chore money. So if we're saying $10 an hour, $1,000 in a year is like 100 hours of work. And anybody who even has the most lackadaisical YouTube channel like mine spends 100 hours on it. And I'm not making anywhere near $1,000 and don't expect to at any point in the future. And if I did, $18,000 is the tax-free threshold cutoff in Australia. Up until you're making $18,000 a year, you're not even expected to, chip in by the Australian government. So 5,000 people are making between $1,000 and $100,000. I reckon at least half of that number would be under the tax-free threshold, i.e. it's a paying hobby. So we're talking about in the hundreds of people who maybe are making their actual living off YouTube. Nobody's getting rich and hardly anybody is making a living. And so it's an unreasonable expectation to think that you were going to be one of that handful. I mean, somebody's going to be, but it's not going to be me. So if it's not about the money, let's find what it's actually about and focus on that. And it would be great if VidCon comes back to Australia again, which I don't know whether it ever will. It would be great if they could figure out a way to focus on the something else, the actually important part. Yeah. Okay, that's my no longer a short video, but I've got it out and I'm very happy about that. Oh, I'll show you the book that I got when I was at VidCon, because this is a BookTube channel. At the BookTuber session, Kat, who was running it, who did a fantastic job. She'd actually spoken to some publishers and there was little presents of books for everybody, free books. How good is that? Totally worth going to VidCon for. I got this one, Alys by Kiri Callaghan. One of the other booktubers that I met last year actually brought this along to add to the pile of giveaways. This is his favourite book and he wants to give it to everybody at the least opportunity. I've started it. I'm not super great with paper books, but I've started it. It's a kind of modernish retelling of Alice in Wonderland. It's a kind of YA. It's very, very YA of the part that I've read, i.e. it's all about teen drama. So there's that. I also picked up, as in terms of a haul, on the train on the way back the last night, before I got on the train to come home, I went to a visitor bookshop and I picked up this one, Ladies in Black by Madeleine St John, which is, according to, the press, an Australian classic. It was written in the 90s and I never heard of it, but there's a movie coming out that's been made of it, so I thought I'd pick it up and read it. It was fine. Nothing super special, but fine. An enjoyable sort of, kitchen sink coming of age drama set in Sydney in the 1950s. I liked it. It was certainly an easy read and I think it will make a fun movie. So that was VidCon. That's me. It's a sunny day. I hope you're all well. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.